Hello everybody, welcome back to Autumn's Journey. I'm FG and we're on episode number 4, continuing our way to Oliver. In a few days we would arrive in Oliver. I adjusted my bag and thought about the letter, eager to reach the guild. Chapter 5. I want to be a knight. That just reminds me of the little girl from Stronghold Warlords going, when I grow up, I want to be a torturer. So horrid. Halt! State your business. Cargo delivery from Merchant Ventures. I half expected some questioning, but the name seemed to carry enough weight that the guard simply nodded and ordered the gate to be raised. While that was happening, I approached the client, who gave me a small pouch of coins. As per our agreement, I grinned and accepted the payment, resisting the urge to check. Was it rude if you counted the money in front of your client? The heaviness seemed appropriate as my fingers gripped the bag.
Thanks.
Thank you, and I'm glad you arrived safely. Take care.
Wow.
As the carriage rolled away, I noticed that Kerr and Elmari were standing around, gawking at the thick city walls. Well, shall we get going? They broke out of their trance. Elmari's eyes shone radiantly, while Kerr tried to hide his stupefaction. Please try to stay with me, no wandering off. I tucked the pouch into my belt, and they quietly followed, soaking in the sights as we entered the city. At first, we strolled easily through the wide streets, which had many carts and carriages passing by. Eventually, the crowds thickened, forcing us to slow down. I could see the two dragons getting a few curious stares, but everyone seemed to be too busy with their own schedules to pay real attention. No, those were no more than passing glances. If it was more unusual, I'm sure people would have stopped and commented. It was then I spotted one person with ears similar to Kerr's. So it was true that there were more dragon kind here. At the plaza, there was a large platform with carnival feats on display. A fire eater launched a flame, and the crowd awed and applauded accordingly. Wait, I didn't know Heavenkind could breathe fire. What is this trickery? How does this work? Can anyone learn it? It's an illusion. It only appears like that because he extinguishes it at the right time. Come on, this way. As we zigzagged, Ilmari abruptly stopped, and I nearly bumped into him. Ilmari?
Wow.
He had found a glass-blowing shop with an open front, and one of the artists was molding a transparent blue bubble through a blow tube. Suspended all around the store were glass-blowing ornaments. Below, rainbow vases sparkled in the sunlight. Ilmari gasped in wonderment.
That is so amazing.
That's phenomenal. How are they able to create something so beautiful? There's so many colors. He took a step forward, but I quickly pulled on his braid, then on Kerr's hair, because he was dawdling towards a pastry shop.
Stay focused.
We'll never get to the Argent Valera Guild at this rate. Come on! But I want to see. They have apple tarts. We can check the glass shop later, and Kerr, you'll get cavities if you keep eating those. Enough dilly-dallying. We have somewhere to go, and I want to go there now! I released them both after they promised that they wouldn't run off and made sure they stayed close. Fortunately, the guild was located in a quieter part of town, between the church and public gardens. Kerr looked quizzically up at the headquarters, which proudly displays an embossed sign. This doesn't look like an altar. Sorry, this is just a small side trip, I promise. I clapped my hands together and gave a little bow, closing one eye. Something I really need to do first. I'd love to have you come with me, but they probably don't allow just anyone. So can you two please not wander off? I'll treat you to all of the glass shops and apple tarts you want after.
I promise.
Promise. Fine. I sighed, but I was relieved that at least one of them was obedient. Besides, even if there are... Sorry, there's a cat in front of my monitor. Even if there are dragonkind here, you might attract too much attention. And I won't be there to protect you if something bad happens. Don't worry about us. We'll be over there. You pointed to the garden, which consisted of shady trees and benches scattered around pretty flower beds.
Thanks.
Thank you. I fished out the letter and eagerly entered the building. Inside, everything seemed more normal than I had anticipated. It reminded me of the lobby of an inn or shop. There was a large board with various scribbled reports pinned to the cork. A few knights with authentic-looking badges walked by, giving me only a passing glance. Please, cat, could you move? Please, please, cat. It's really hard to read with you standing in front of the monitor. No, don't go back. Oh my god, recording YouTube videos with cats. Very difficult. Don't do it. I highly suggest you don't do it. I approached who I assumed was the receptionist. This is the Argent Valera headquarters, right? Right. I have a letter advocating me for the title of knight. Do you simply join if you fulfill some requirements, or how does this work? First, what academy did you graduate from? I was homeschooled? She shook her head and I started to get anxious. I pushed the letter onto the counter. At least read this. Lady Bayard. Lady Bayard? Yeah, I'm her daughter. She personally trained me so I could officially join the Knights and serve under the Sun and Moon Council. She ripped open the letter and read it eagerly, like it was addressed to a fan from an admired celebrity. Her eyes settled down. She looked up with a peculiar expression. Her credentials and titles are longer than... I know. You must have lots of potential if you're Bayard's daughter. Sadly, we no longer accept people who merely trained under one person. What? She flashed an apologetic smile. I'm sorry, so sorry, but rules are rules. As much as I admire your mother, new protocols have been recently implemented and they are to be followed. If you want, I could look for opus in the Oliver Knight Her voice droned on, but I could no longer register anything. I could only stand there numbly and nod. All my training for nothing? That can't be.
Are you okay?
Aurelie, are you okay? I wasn't sure what had happened, but I'd somehow managed to make my way to one of the benches outside. I was curled up with my head nestled in my knees, not responding to any of Omari's pleas. So did it work out? Care? What? I'm just asking if it worked out. Obviously not. Embarrassed and eyes teary, I glanced up to see what the other two were doing. Omari was hovering around me fretfully, like he was trying to figure out how to shoo a spider out of a kitchen. Care, on the other hand, gave me a stern look that said he relegated me to the status of dirt under his shoe. And I didn't care.
This can't
It's
be
over, all over.
Oh.
What does one do to reassure a heavenkind? I tilted over, letting my curled body rest against the bench. They usually take him or her out to the pub so they can drown in their sorrows. What's a pub?
What?
Is it a type of lake? I don't want anyone to drown. My chest and shoulders shuddered from a half-hiccup sob in a laugh. Oh, those two. I sat up and wiped my eyes.
Thanks.
I'm fine. It'll take a while to recover, but that's all.
Annoying.
As long as you can take me to the next altar, I'm good. I scowled and shut up, staring him in the eye. I wanted to become a knight so I would be able to help you better.
I don't care.
I still have no idea what those are, and I don't actually care. Don't care? You've already delayed us enough with your fiasco. And you're the one who kept telling us not to wander off. Hey, rocks for brains. A precious little girl's dream just sort of shattered into a million pieces here. Excuse me if I don't feel like, guiding you to the next altar right now.
Annoying.
This is pathetic. I bet I could find someone else better who would be, more willing to...
Please.
Quiet! Both of you! There was a ferocious snarl at the end of Elmari's sentence, and both of us immediately stopped arguing. I blinked blankly as I sat back down on the bench, surprised that Elmari could express such ire if he desired. The flare vanished, and soon he was his usual calm self, but with a considerate yet stern edge to his voice. This obviously isn't getting us anywhere. Aurelie, I know this meant a lot to you, but we can't forget the original reason for being here. Care, ease off. Let's not fight, especially when we'll be working together to get your form back. He softened and leaned in so he was on eye level with me. Aurelie, you can still help, knight or not. It's only a title, right? You've already done so much for us. You're like a knight already anyways. For some reason, that caused me to smile, and I chuckled lightly at his attempt to cheer me up. Yeah, I can still help. I stood back up. You can be cool sometimes, Omari, and mature. He pouted and folded his arms. I'm pretty sure I'm the oldest one here. Kara and I exchanged surprised glances, since I had definitely pegged Omari as the baby of the group. Do we both feel like we can talk in an amicable manner again? I nodded. After a moment's hesitation, Kara shrugged, but didn't fight back.
Oh no.
Oh, I forgot the letter. Also, although I don't see the point in going back for it now. Maybe I should have listened to the alternatives. It wasn't like I was getting completely rejected. It's my fault for relying too much on my mum's name anyways. At that moment, someone ran up to us, clutching the letter. He carried an air of formality, and I instantly recognized his uniform rank as captain of the guard. I gaped, but quickly regained my composure. Excuse me, is this your letter? I merely nodded. Yeah, how did you know? When I asked the receptionist about this, she said the young lady took it rather hard when she didn't get accepted. Although I could not see Omari and Kara's reaction, I had a feeling they were promptly agreeing with that remark. Did he witness the bench scene from earlier? Being reminded of my rejection was enough to get me on the verge of tears, but I nodded again and tried to regain some dignity.
Sorry about that.
Yes, I'm sorry for not knowing about the new regulations, and... He shook his head. I was never a stickler for those changes. I find them too limiting. Why, back in my day... He trailed off and coughed. However, I can't just knight anyone. If you possess the same skill and potential as a student of the Oliver Knight Academy, I could possibly make an exception here. I felt my heart stop as I tried to prevent a paroxysm of squealing. However, even if you're Lady Bayard's daughter, I'm not going easy on you. You will still need to take a test, and I'm pressed for time. Would you prefer a test of sword skills or a written exam? Sword! He glanced at me in bafflement, but smiled. Just like your mother. I worked under her for years. If she knew about the new guidelines, she'd probably be livid. He gestured back to the headquarters. Then, if you're ready... I glanced back at Omari and Kara, resisting the urge to jump. I'll be back soon! Please wait here. Right. Well, that was a serendipitous event. I'm glad things worked out in the end. Are you kidding? Everyone entering and exiting the building saw her embarrassing display. I'm not surprised someone decided to see why there was a girl dissolving into the bench from all her tears. One track mind that girl. Same as you. I hope she comes back soon, though. She did promise to take me to that glittering shop. What's a cavity anyway?
Look.
By the way, Omari.
Oh.
Omari? That's what I said.
Of course.
You're right.
Thanks.
About earlier, you fought rather competently. That surprised me. Never thought my spells would come in handy that way. I'm glad it worked out.
I have a question.
Why did you and Aurelie burst out laughing anyway? I admit it was a rather interesting scare tactic, but I don't think that was its intention. It was nothing. I'm curious. Nothing important. Hey, you two! Did it work out? I mustered a small smile and rubbed the back of my head. Yeah, maybe not as I'd like, but not all was lost. Basically, he was impressed, but he can't give me the rank without more proof. I'll be helping out at the Argent Valeria Guild as a knight in training. I can do quests and little tasks, but I can't be included in any major orders. They set to compare to the final year at their academy. I didn't exactly get that comment, as I had never been enrolled before, but I guess that meant I could consider myself close to graduating. Explaining the situation solidified some of my confidence, and now I was grinning.
I did it!
I even got a little badge! Omari clapped, while Kara's mouth tugged very slightly at a corner. So we can go to the next altar? Yeah. However, it's getting late, so things will have to be postponed. But I still intend to keep my promise. I'll take you to the altar first thing in the morning, and then I'll show you the marketplace. I'm happy with that arrangement. That works. Oh, and I even got my own lodging, like a real knight. But I can't let unauthorized people in with me. I could find an inn for both of you and...
What?
An inn? Where you can sleep indoors for a price. We'd pay them. Now, we'll be fine outside, Kara, right? I'd rather sleep outside anyway. Right. It's autumn now, but it's still pretty warm. However, please tell me when it's starting to get too cold to remain outside at night. Then I can arrange an inn. Not sure where you'll go currently. The gardens seem nice, so you could easily get some sleep there. Just don't get into trouble when I'm not around. Omari chuckled. Like a mother. Our cultures may be different, but we do have common sense. His gaze briefly flickered to Care, as if second-guessing himself. I'll be watching over him anyway. What's that supposed to mean? I went to the lodge with the others as directed and was pointed to the second floor where we would be staying. It was essentially like an inn. Female knights temporarily staying in Oliver live here. While they remain here, they can do various tasks around the city for money or little rewards. Think of it as training for all the virtues of a knight should represent. So they will be honorable and righteous, both in the battlefield and while protecting civilians. And of course, you'll help me. You two will be able to learn everything about Heavenkind without it getting too boring. Now, if I didn't become a knight in training, we'd probably just wander aimlessly hoping for something to do. And I don't think Kira's master would accept that as a meaningful experience.
Of course.
Makes sense. Is this title really that important? Yes! Kira opened his mouth to interject, but seemed to have thought better about it. Instead, he rubbed his temples and exhaled loudly. Try to include something more battle-oriented? I don't know if fighting other Heavenkind would count as an ideal experience. I'll see what I can do. For now, let's get to that altar tomorrow and see the marketplace as well. I'm exhausted. So much has happened today.
Of course.
Of course. I'll see you in the morning. Thanks. Don't oversleep, Care. At least I won't be poked with a stick. As Almari headed for the garden, Care took a step, then paused before glancing back. Is this one of your reluctantly admitting something confessions again? It's not. Fine, yeah, it is. It's okay. It shows I'm understanding you better. It's about the fight, right? Yes, I may have acted a little harshly with you when you were obviously feeling down. It's okay. I guess my reaction was a little immature. I'm surprised you didn't leave me there. Believe me, the thought crossed my mind, but Ilmari wouldn't have approved.
Oh,
well, I'm sorry for snapping at you. We kind of do seem to rile each other up. I'll try to be a better friend. Friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've already been through so much together. I consider both of you and Amari friends. My words seemed to have startled him. He awkwardly mumbled a goodbye and departed. Guess that notion never occurred to him. Well, Aurelie, you're a knight in training now. Time to start acting like one. Ah! Jumping up, I entered the lodge, eager for the next day and the adventures it would bring. Chapter 6. Knight in Training. Whoa! We just teleported to the cave. I don't know how that happened, but sure, here we are at the cave. Cool. Now, this is a real cave. Droplets of water echoed in the puddles as we walked carefully through the cabin. Kira led the way happily. You sure? It kind of looks like the last one we were in. Are you kidding? There's more tunnels, its sediments are mostly limestone, and the roof is higher.
Of course.
Leave it to an earth dragon to know his surroundings. I like underwater caves. They make great lairs. Elmaria seemed cheery as well. The numerous branching tunnels made me nervous, but my companions seemed unfazed by it all. I don't get it. It's like you know where you're going. Dragon intuition? Kara groaned and Elmaria shot me a penitent look. We actually came here earlier thanks to a Heavenkind's help. So much for that promise not to wander off.
I'm sorry.
I know, but Kara was determined and I didn't want to let him out of my sight. However, Master Bedros wishes for him to be accompanied by a Heavenkind at each altar to prove he's not going straight from one cave to the other. And not just any Heavenkind, but one that's been there with him the whole time. Wouldn't your word be good enough, Ilmari? You're overseeing the whole thing. He shifted nervously.
Well.
Oh. It sounds like you have no influence here. Something like that. I arched an eyebrow dubiously, but before I could question further, Kara announced we had arrived. There was a small carved statue of an earth dragon set on a block. Kara gestured, accusingly added before turning to me. Do they even try to make impressive ones? These would be pleased with it. A life-size one would be more worthy. Go humbly beg for his forgiveness. I gave him a gentle shove and stuck out my tongue. He glared, but his usual intensity had diminished somewhat. I was planning to remain where I was, but I saw Elmari retreat to give Care some space. Not staying?
I'd rather not.
No, I don't want to feel like I'm eavesdropping on a private conversation. I reflected back on the argument at the first altar. It doesn't seem that personal to me, and you can only hear Care speak. That did not convince Elmari, and he merely kept walking back until he had vanished around the bend. Maybe he had a point. As I turned,
Whoa.
Hey, where are you going? To give you some privacy? Did you forget already? You have to stay. You're heaven kind. Right. Oh, yeah, right. I shifted my weight until I felt comfortable. I kept my arms behind my back as I watched her kneel down, then close his eyes to focus. Moments later, his ears perked up. Yes, she's here now. So picky. Yeah, we left Perry, and helped something called a carriage to get to Oliver. We were attacked. Heavenkind fists are pretty useful. I covered my mouth as I smirked at the comment. From there, Care chronicled the sights and sounds of the plaza. Heavenkind like to pretend to do things they actually can't do for the sake of people clapping. They're driven to perform odd things, like eating fire. Is that even edible? He also mentioned the presence of other dragonkind. He concluded his account, and after a few minutes stood up. He placed one hand on his hip as he stared at the statue, deep in thought. When I was sure the conversation was over, I approached him and leaned in. Is that everything? Yeah. Did he say how many altars to visit afterward? Thankfully, there's only a few left, and there's many around Oliver. So I'll leave it in your hands to get some interesting night quests.
Let's do this.
You can count on me, and I still think I owe you a visit to the marketplace. We can restock on some supplies. We rejoined Elmari and returned to the bustling market of Central Oliver. What I thought would only take the morning ended up going straight to mid-afternoon, given how much we explored all the various shops and stores. At the end, I was pretty much haggard. I slumped down on the bench between my companions, blankly gazing at the sky. It's like babysitting kids. Overgrown kids. Elmari was happily clutching a small glass-blown bubble. He held it up, and its transparent blue surface shimmered like waves in the sunlight.
Wow.
I still can't believe you bought me this. I've never had anything Heavenkite made before. How could I not? You were making that face. This one? His expression changed, assuming the epitome of sweetness and innocence that had crumbled my defenses before. Yep, that one. Maybe he wasn't so sweet and innocent if he was using that face to his advantage. Kerr was nonchalantly stuffing his own face with various desserts and pastries. I placed a hand over my forehead before sliding it down to my chin in aggravation. I said eat a few, not all of them. At least we found something he likes. I preferred if it was something that wouldn't give him a sugar rush. Kerr pursed his lips, but said nothing, so he was still preoccupied with chewing. Now that we were all settled, I stood up and stretched, Argent Valeria on my mind. I'm going to check the guild and see if there's any postings I can accept for tomorrow. Get something to do with fighting! I prefer there was a more peaceful one. I'll see what I can do. I doubt I can find one that'll please you both. I gave them a quick wave, intending not to take as long as I headed for the guild. Inside the headquarters, I surveyed the grind board, hoping to find something that would catch my eye. Which one? Which mission should we do? A battle tournament. Are you the greatest warrior in the guild? Try and find out. Reward, bragging rights. Go fishing. Sapphire salmon eye in season. However, my back is sore and I'm unable to fish. Can you catch 3 for me? 75 coins as a reward. Aviterol feathers. I played the lead for a ballet and I simply must have some aviterol feathers to adorn my black swan costume. 150 coins. Save the chickens. My chickens have been disappearing lately. Please find out who was responsible. Reward a week's supply of eggs. Intense rescue mission. I need to find this important person now. Reward 10 coins. Honey glazed apple tarts. I need 10 jars of honey from red bee hives for new recipes I've been developing. Reward free samples. Get a 5 nightshade. I need these completely harmless herbs for something not sinister. Reward 50 coins. Can I pick one? Which mission should we do? Let's go fishing! I've never had the patience for fishing, and this task nearly took us all day. While Omari was watching the bait, Kerr thought it would be hilarious to push him into the river. We learned that Omari couldn't swim in his Heavenkind form, and Kerr learned how far Omari's neck can extend from shore when he's in dragon form. Omari decided it was faster if he just found the fish on his own. I had to shout at him not to bother the boats, though. He seemed to enjoy this mission a lot. Oh, I'll just do loads. Okay, let's do the apple tarts. Free samples for Care, I guess. As soon as I read the post out loud, Care wouldn't have it any other way. Getting the honey from the aggressive bees was nearly impossible until I mentioned that bees didn't like smoke and that it would drive them away. Elmari thought conjuring fog would produce a similar result, but Care found out it didn't at all. Luckily, the baker felt so guilty or scared that he doubled the reward for Care. Elmari and I secretly wanted to nibble on the tarts, but decided not to after all. Despite the stings, Care was satisfied and claimed it was the best thing he'd ever tasted. Okay. How about we try to go for the vitriol feathers? Since Elmari banned any quest that involved fighting other heavenkind, we decided to focus on wildlife. After that rather embarrassing encounter with an vitriol back when I couldn't even walk, I decided to get my revenge. It was so bizarre fighting an animal that could usually be crushed under my claws, and not immediately eating it either. Punching it out in mid-air was oddly satisfying though, and even Aura and Ilmari could only stand around and gawk, or shake their heads. I don't get the appeal of decorating yourself in feathers though. Heavenkind culture makes no sense. Save the chickens? Aww. This mission was a rather simple and boring one. All we had to do was mend some holes in the fence that the farmer overlooked. Ilmari was captivated by the chickens though. He wouldn't stop following them and pestered the tiny yellow things even more. Aura warned him repeatedly, and Amari learned that if one annoyed the chickens long enough, they would gang up on you. It was nice to see his curiosity getting him into trouble. Heavenkind sure keep a lot of animals for food and clothing products. Aura accidentally stepped out something about the sport of cow tipping, and I immediately tried it out. Don't tip the cows. That's horrible. Don't tip cows. No, don't do that. Terrible. You're terrible. Don't do that. Once again, I was scanning the bulletin board, sighing as I longingly gazed at the drop postings that only accepted true knights. I rubbed my badge, clearly labeled Kit, Knight in Training, wishing it was the official one. Well, can't dwell on it now. I need to do a number of missions before they consider me. In the corner of the guild was a group of knights, talking quietly amongst themselves. I thought I saw one look at me before he averted his eyes hastily. The girl beside him giggled. Care, who was standing beside me, glared daggers at the group, gritting his teeth menacingly. What are you doing? Stop it! He balked and averted his gaze, but said nothing. His ears twitched.
Stay focused.
Stay focused. There's a patrol one. Are you up for a nice long walk outside the city? Guess. Or I could ask Elmari. However, I think he wants to observe the glass blowers again.
Leave it to me.
I'll go. Thanks. I handed in the job posting to the receptionist, who detailed the route and gave me a small map. It's probably more of a training exercise than a real patrol, but it's something at least. I rejoined Care and we exited the bustling city of Oliver and entered the long sprawling farmland that extended beyond it. There was a well-worn path, so the map was hardly needed. Care and I walked side by side, taking in the scenery. Almost all of the leaves were now a vivid fire of yellow, red, and orange. Can't believe it, when we left Barry it was still summer. So much has happened, don't you think? When we first met, you barely talked to me. I'm glad it's different now. Or not, I guess. I took a wide step forward and turned around, causing him to halt. I stared at him dubiously. What is it? You sulk a lot, but now you're sulking while in deep thought. That's not like you. Out with it. What's on your mind?
Look,
How do you handle it? What? Handle what? What people have been saying about you? Well, I don't hear it directly a lot. You have better hearing than I do. They say you've used your mother's name to get where you are, that you're nothing like her, and that you'll never live up to it. Thank you. I really needed to be reminded of that, thanks. What made you want to walk the same path she did anyway? Why do you want to become a knight so badly? Finally, the question both boys had seemed to avoid asking me directly. And we will find out next time. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I will see you all then. Take care and bye-bye.